Boise State's just clowning kids in the Mountain West. And I'm going to throw a chaos scenario at you that just isn't out of the realm of possibility in any way, shape, or form. Tell me, right now, how many Big 12 teams do you think are ranked ahead of Boise State? How many? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Up. Time's up. It's one. It's one team. And that one team is BYU. So every other Big 12 team that's ranked, Iowa State and Colorado and Kansas State, yeah, they're all behind Boise State right now. Recall the playoff criteria. The 5 highest ranked conference champions shall be automatically put into the playoff, with the 4 highest ranked conference champions receiving byes. That is not conference specific language. And I have spoken about it in the past as, yeah, the Power 4 conferences are going to get byes. Because this scenario doesn't seem very likely to happen. It's happening in real time. We're not there yet. Okay, we're about 3 steps along the way of a 5-step plan. And you can't assume you're going to have the next 2. Just because you have hit a drive into the fairway and a second shot that stays out of the water doesn't mean you're going to automatically put it on the green and 2-putt for par. You still have to hit the ball onto the green, or at least in this particular metaphor, if you went 1 for 1, you have hit the ball on the green, you have to 2-putt for par. Well, you're still about 35 feet away, and you can 3-putt from that range. It's really easy to do. I do it all the time, let me tell you. I'm a master at hitting the green and not making birdie. That is my chef's kiss specialty on the golf course. So Boise State is currently ranked 12th in the country. Now you might say, well, Spencer, they won't pick up, the high quality win that someone will get in the Big 12 championship game. I'm going to remind you, the next closest Big 12 team is currently ranked 17th. The AP voters are not the College Football Playoff Committee. They might feel very differently. How far up do you think they can put Iowa State? And how likely do you think it is that the Big 12 champion is not going to lose a single game the rest of the year? Now, if BYU does that, yep, they get the bye, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But the history of college football will tell you that those who are deciding the rankings, they don't really like punishing teams for winning. At least not often. They don't always reward teams enough for winning, but they don't really like punishing them for winning. And then they have these preconceived notions. And the notion they've got about the Big 12, based on what I'm seeing here, and again, so that you can just avoid typing the YouTube comment, Playoff Committee, AP voters. These are 2 different groups of people. They are very like-minded. They are very, very like-minded. There's not going to be more than maybe 2 spots of separation for a given team in the college football playoff on Tuesday compared to what you see in the AP poll right here, right now. So Boise State's sitting there at 12. Now, do they have a particularly hard schedule ahead? No, they do not. But if BYU loses a game to Utah or Arizona State, as I talked about earlier in today's show, as being 100% possible, and I think anybody would freely admit that's being honest that, yeah, BYU could lose either of those football games. I think ASU is certainly much tougher. If they were to do that, do you think the playoff committee is going to look at the Big 12 and say, well, the Big 12 is actually really, really good? The Big 12 is actually a lot better than we thought. Or do you think they're going to say, that loss is very punitive. You can't have that. That's going to drop you way, way down. I can guarantee you, if BYU loses to Utah this week on the road, who's 4-4, unranked, and has not been very good for the most part this season, they will be ranked lower than Boise State. And then someone will have to put together a conference championship resume that gets them above Boise State, who do not have a tough schedule remaining, admittedly. Admittedly, that is true. They've got Oregon State on there, but the Beavs are about to recruit you and myself to play defensive line. They're trying to get healthy this week, but no one's touching Boise State. They're playing in the Mountain West Championship game. That's a lock. They're -2. I didn't even look to see what the latest odds are for them to win the Mountain West because, well, you're not going to get very good odds over there. Mountain West Conference champion, I'm going to guess this right now. I promise I have not looked this up. I bet you it's -275. Oh, nope, they're -350. Boise State is -350 to win the Mountain West Championship game. And who they face will be either UNLV or Colorado State, depending on how things go. But Boise State's next 4 games are Nevada, at San Jose State, at Wyoming, hosting Oregon State. None of those teams are touching Boise State. If you watched them last week, I know most people didn't, which is why I come on here and talk about it, because I watch the Broncos all the time. Ashton Jeanty didn't really get going against San Diego State until later in the game. Didn't have his best, most explosive or efficient game, but they still rolled. Boise State scores in Mountain West play go like this: 62-30, 28-7, 29-24 over a good UNLV team that's got multiple Power 4 wins this season. That was on the road, by the way. And 56-24. They're not getting touched. And might I remind you that the more that Oregon continues to dominate teams in the Big Ten and establish themselves firmly as the number 1 team in the country, the better that Boise State's loss at Oregon by 3 points continues to look. I've talked about this with Texas A&M before. They're big Notre Dame fans in College Station. The more Notre Dame wins, the more Texas A&M has a stronger resume. Well, if Oregon continues to look like the number 1 team, and the AP voters deem them the unanimous number 1 team in college football this week, the more Boise State's resume looks really impressive, because you've got to win against a ranked Washington State team at the moment, number 1. And number 2, you've got a 3-point road loss to Oregon. You are playing like a team worthy of being in the college football playoff in the way that people who advocated for the expanded playoff have long discussed. That, hey, these teams can get to that sort of level. Well, Boise State looks like that team right now. And Ashton Jeanty's really good, but they are more than just Ashton Jeanty. Maddox Madsen has been starting to get things going in the passing game. Chris Camper is a really solid wide receiver, and Dirk Cutter, the offense coordinator, is really good. Their defense is playing well enough. I think they can play better than what they have in the last couple of weeks. But overall, Boise's just a good team, and they're better than everybody else in the Mountain West. And so unless they were to lose in the conference championship game, they're going to be in the playoff. That's not a question. The question is, could they be ranked ahead of the Big 12 champion? And the answer is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. Let me throw this scenario at you. Let's say BYU loses to Arizona State in a couple weeks, but they get to the Big 12 championship game. They're 11-1, and let's say they're playing Colorado, for instance, if Colorado can get by Texas Tech this week. Or let's say they're playing Iowa State or Kansas State or literally anyone. Haven't we seen in the Big 12 that anyone can beat anyone? Haven't we already demonstrated that? So what if BYU gets in at 11-1 and they're playing a 10-2 Big 12 team, and that 10-2 team beats the 11-1 BYU team? BYU's probably still in the playoff. But is the Big 12 champion one of the 5 highest ranked conference champions in all of college football? I don't think they would be. I think that would be Boise State. So this is a chaos scenario that dawned on me as I saw Boise State ranked 12th in the AP rankings, and I'll be watching the playoff committee's rankings very closely, as will everybody on Tuesday. But I'm just telling you, this is entirely possible. It hasn't happened yet. I'm not predicting it to happen. I'm just putting it in your mind so that if it does transpire, thanks to a chaotic month of November and the first week of December with the conference championship games, you aren't surprised. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.